Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram
Krishna.
Hare 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 Ram
Guru
Hare
Chaitanya
Ram
Pranam. Hare Krishna, dear devotees.
Hare Krishna Krishna Krishna
Hare
Hare Hare
Krishna. Thank you
Hare
to Nandkumar Prabhu, Pawan Prabhuji for leading the chanting. So we'll continue with Mangalacharan prayers and reading. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Namah Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashat Deshutarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna. Okay, so let's continue. Anybody would like to sing today? Balamukundashtakam. Okay, I'll continue then, and then we'll read the translations. Hari Bol. Shri Balamukundashtakam by Srila Vilmangal Thakur. करारविन्देन पदारविन्दं मुखारविन्दे विनिवेशयन्तं वटस्य पत्रस्य पुटेशयानं बालं मुकुन्दं मनसा स्मरामि संहृत्य लोकान् वटपत्रमध्ये शयनमाद्यन्तविहीनरूपम् सर्वेश्वरं सर्वहितावतारं बालं मुकुन्दं मनसा स्मरामि इन्दिवरश्यामलकोमलाङ्गम् इन्द्रादिदेवार्चितपादपद्मं सन्तानकल्पद्रुममाश्रितानां बालं मुकुन्दं मनसा स्मरामि लम्बालकं लम्बितहारयष्टिं शृङ्गारलीलाङ्कितदन्तपङ्क्तिं बिम्बाधरं चारुविशालनेत्रं बालं मुकुन्दं मनसा स्मरामि शिक्ये निधायापि पयोदधीनि बहिर्गताय व्रजनायिकायां भुक्त्वा यथेष्टं कपटेन शुक्तं बालं मुकुन्दं मनसा स्मरामि कालीजलस्थेतकालीयस्य फणाग्ररङ्गे नटनप्रियन्तं तत्पृच्छहस्तं शरदिन्दुवक्त्रं बालं मुकुन्दं मनसा स्मरामि उलूखलेबद्धमुदारशौर्यम् उत्तुङ्गयुग्मार्जुनभङ्गलीलाम् उत्फुल्लपद्मायतचारुनेत्रं बालं मुकुन्दं मनसा स्मरामि आलोक्य मातुमुखमादरेण स्तन्यं पिबन्तं सरसीरुहाक्षं सच्चिन्मयं देवमनन्तरूपं बालं मुकुन्दं मनसा स्मरामि बालं मुकुन्दं मनसा स्मरामि बालं मुकुन्दं मनसा स्मरामि हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे श्री बालमुकुंदम स्तोत्रम की जय श्री बिलमंगल ठाकुर की जय श्री प्रभुपाद की जय Okay, Meenakshi Moini will like to read the translation.
Hare Krishna. I meditate on that infant Mukunda who is sleeping on the leaf of a banyan tree with his lotus foot placed in his lotus-like mouth with his lotus-like hand. I meditate on that infant Mukunda who is sleeping, holding all the worlds together on the leaf of a banyan tree in such a form which has no beginning or no end. He is the incarnation of God for the welfare of all mankind and the Lord of all. I meditate on Bal Mukunda in my heart, who has a delicate body like a blue lotus and whose feet is worshipped by all the gods and Indra, etc. He is the wish fulfilling tree for those who take refuge in him. I meditate on that Bal Mukunda in my heart, who has hanging curls and hanging necklaces, a beautiful row of teeth which are shown playfully. His lower lip is as red as a bimba fruit and has beautiful wide eyes. I meditate on that Bal Mukunda in my heart, who pretended as if he was sleeping, having eaten the yogurt of his contentment from the hanging pots of the gopis when they had gone out. I meditate on Bal Mukunda, whose beautiful face resembles the autumnal moon and is dancing happily on the hood of Serpent Kalia, holding its tail with his hand in the Kalinda pond. I meditate on Bal Mukunda with beautiful eyes like the petals of full bloomed lotus, and who, with great valor, broke the pair of tall Yamala Arjun trees, even though he was tied to a motor. I meditate on Bal Mukunda, God filled with Sat and Chit, that is, infinite consciousness of infinite divine form, the lotus eyed one, who cast his looks at his mother's face with affection while drinking milk from her breast. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. Yes. Hare Krishna. Okay. Like Prabhupada was singing these prayers, Jai Radha Madhav every day. Like that, it is good that we are also singing these prayers at least 7 days a week. Okay. So yesterday we are continuing from chapter 33. A lot of ground to be covered. I think we are covering a lot of ground. We are coming almost to the end of this chapter. But we saw yesterday Prabhupada is leading the first major Pandal program in Bombay. And so nicely, all the disciples of Srila Prabhupada are making a good team and distributing all the big work in terms of publicity, fundraising, organizing the Pandal, sound systems, etc. And so much of Prabhupada gives that example of American ingenuity and Indian vision, Indian spiritual vision, combining together like a blind man and a lame man. America is blind, India is lame because India has been ravished by the foreign invasions and poverty, but it still has a rich spiritual culture. And America has wealth and ideas, so Prabhupada combines them. So like that, all of us also, we work together, like Prabhupada said, we cooperate, we unite, and we grow in unity. Unity is strength. And Prabhupada is teaching by practical example how he's leveraging the American disciples to organize this Indian program, and thousands of 20,000, 30,000 devotees are attending every single day, 11-day program. And finally, before the program was arranged, we saw on the day just before the program, like Giraj Maharaj was saying, Hare Krishna, with the big banner board at the station in the Mumbai urban metro stations. And those two words were sufficient. By then, everybody had realized what was this, right? So, like that, if we are also able to realize Hare Krishna, just those two words at the end of our life is successful. So, yeah, so this has concluded 11-day program, and with a lot of, and with this finally, with the marriage and Vedic initiations. And now the devotees have carried the deities of Radha Krishna to the seaside, and we'll see what happens next. So Prabhupada spoke and held kirtan before a crowd of 25,000 at the seaside where the deities were carried. The next day, the Indian Express reported, fitting finale to Hare Krishna festival. It was a grand fitting finale to the 11-day Hare Krishna festival, which attracted thousands of devotees at Cross Maidan in South Bombay. The decorated murtis of Radha and Krishna were taken in procession on a regal rath from the venue to Dirgaon Road to Chowpatty in the evening. Dozens of Nam Sankirtan mandals from all over the city spearheaded the procession with loud and ecstatic chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, followed by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada in an elegant horse-drawn coach chanting. Crowds chanted Hare Krishna on the roadsides as the Ratha was pulled by devotees along the route. At Chowpatty, the 4 foot tall deities, splendidly dressed and decorated with jewels and garlands, were displayed on their magnificent Simhasana throne, donated to the Hare Krishna movement by Madhav Bog and Mumba Devi temples. During the celebrations, Prabhupada spoke from the Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam daily, morning and evening. More than 30 of his foreign disciples conducted kirtan, artik, and film shows in the specially erected pandals. Prabhupada will deliver his final public message to the citizens before leaving in a few weeks on a preaching tour of the major cities of Russia. Bombayites would not soon forget the Hare Krishna festival, and a letter from Prabhupada to ISKCON life members pledged that it had been only the beginning. By the grace of their lordships, Shri Shri Radha and Krishna, our recent festival in Cross Maidan exhibition ground has been counted a grand success, and quite noticeably, the spirit of bhakti has been actively revived in Bombay. My blessings go especially to all of you who have joined with us in service. As you may know, my plan is to establish in this most auspicious city a unique international Krishna conscious training center where hundreds of persons from abroad may be educated in the Vedic way of life, while at the same time Indian boys and girls may be trained up for prachar, preaching work in foreign countries. We will construct classrooms, workrooms, dormitories, kitchen for large-scale public prasad distribution, a lecture hall, library, and a beautiful temple for the glorification of Radha and Krishna. We are on the threshold of bringing this important project to fruition, and we are very excited to inform you the progress made in this respect. You will agree with me that your active participation and your direct involvement in this is most essential, and hence I appeal to you to spare your valuable time for Krishna and make it a point, in spite of your extremely busy life, to extend your unstinted cooperation. It is proposed to hold a meeting on Monday, the 26th of April 1971 at 6:30 p.m. Akash Ganga, 7th floor, 89 Bhulabhai Desai Road, Bombay 26, to discuss and to finalize plans to channel our united energies to achieve the goal. It will also be a great opportunity for like-minded Krishna devotees to meet, to have darshan of the deities, and to exchange views and suggestions to make rapid progress in spiritual life. I very much want to meet you again, so kindly make it a must to attend our meeting. There is a lot of ground to be covered to spread Krishna consciousness to millions and millions of our slumbering brothers and sisters. That so many were accepting ISKCON and Sankirtan movement as bona fide testified to the purity of Srila Prabhupada's presentation of Lord Krishna's teachings. His teachings were not sectarian. They were meant for everyone all over the world. He was teaching love of Krishna, the universal principle for all humanity. In his lectures at the Pandal, he had lamented that although India was known as the land of religion, where God consciousness had traditionally permeated society, India's leaders were becoming atheists and communists. Whether Indians, polluted by the madness for sense gratification and confused by a hodgepodge of pseudo-religious teachings, could still recognize and adopt the real thing remained to be seen. But at least in Bombay, the Pandal program had had a great effect. Of that, Prabhupada felt satisfied. The program had been the same program he had introduced everywhere: chanting, dancing, taking prasadam, worshipping the deity, hearing about Krishna. It was Lord Chaitanya's program, adapted slightly according to the particular circumstances, but Lord Chaitanya's program nonetheless. This Sankirtana was the only possible remedy for the disease of modern society. Yet people were reluctant to take the remedy. Prabhupada therefore had labeled the bottle. The medicine was unchanged, but he had labeled it attractively: a gala evening of entertainment, music, and refreshments, featuring the youth of America and Europe transformed into Vaishnavas. The labeling was simple, non-deceptive. Everyone in Bombay knew well that the Hare Krishna Pandal festival was a product of their own Vedic heritage. They were fully aware that the Hare Krishna leader was a great acharya in the ancient tradition, but it had come to them in such a spectacular and attractive way that they had become caught up in it. Madhudvisha. No one really thought Prabhupada was leaving India. In India, Prabhupada was the cutting edge of the whole movement. He was the force. Things were moving because of Prabhupada. In the Western world, Prabhupada would give the idea and the devotees would expand on it. Prabhupada was the observer, but he didn't have such an integral active part in the West. But in India, Prabhupada was right in the thick of it. He was checking the accounts. He was so much involved in the Indian scene that Rishi Kumar, the Bombay treasurer, would have to go to Prabhupada every other day and show him the accounts. He was very much involved in everything. The whole movement in India depended on Prabhupada. Because of this, no one thought that Prabhupada would really leave us. Hare Krishna. So we'll transition to chapter 34. Chapter 34. Jet Age Parivajaka Acharya. May 1971. Srila Prabhupada prepared for extensive world travel. Although his itinerary was indefinite, his general plan was to travel widely for a few months, then tour the US, visit London, and then return to India. He had sent disciples to Australia and Malaysia, and he wanted to visit them. He also wanted to go to Moscow and was awaiting a letter of permission from the Soviet government. As he had spread his movement in America, visiting major cities and preaching, and then stationing a few faithful disciples there to carry on, he now expanded his field to include the whole world. Srila Prabhupada's traveling was in the mood of Narada Muni, the eternally wandering devotee. In the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, Srila Prabhupada had translated Narada Muni's words. I traveled all over the earth, fully satisfied and without being proud or envious. I do travel everywhere by the grace of the Almighty Vishnu, either in the transcendental world or in the three divisions of the material world without any restriction, because I am fixed up, unbroken in the devotional service of the Lord. I do travel, as above mentioned, by constantly singing the glories of the Lord in transcendental message by vibrating this instrument of Veena, charged with transcendental sound and given to me by Sri Lord Krishna. And in his Bhagavatam purports, Srila Prabhupada had explained, it is the duty of a mendicant to have experience of all varieties of God's creation as Parivajaka Acharya, or traveling alone through all forests, hills, towns, villages, etc., to gain faith in God and strength of mind, as well as to enlighten the inhabitants of the message of God. A sannyasi is duty bound to take all these risks without any fear, and the most typical sannyasi of the present age is Lord Chaitanya, who traveled in the same manner through the central India jungles, enlightening even the tigers, bears, snakes, deers, elephants, and many other jungle animals. In the age of Kali, Prabhupada had explained, sannyas is especially difficult. If, however, one did take sannyas, one who may take the vow of renunciation of family life may not imitate the Paripajika Acharyas like Narada or Lord Chaitanya, but may sit down at some holy place and devote the whole time and energy in hearing and repeatedly chanting the holy scriptures left by the great acharyas like the six Goswamis of Vrindavan. Yet Prabhupada was traveling as a mendicant missionary, Parivajika Acharya, having already attained the advanced stage wherein the pure devotee resides in Vrindavan and chants Hare Krishna incessantly. He was now traveling for the good of the whole world. He, like Narada, was traveling to all parts of the world. As a news writer in India had appropriately titled him, he was a jet age Parivajaka Acharya. A few brahmacharis each, only recently initiated by Srila Prabhupada, had been preaching alone on the tropical peninsula of Malaysia for several months. With nearly 1 million Indians in Malaysia, many of them wealthy and influential, the brahmacharis were meeting with success. During one program at a Hindu temple in Kuala Lumpur, a South Indian doctor and his lawyer wife expressed their appreciation of the devotees and offered to donate a house and some land to ISKCON. When the devotees visited the property and found that the offer was serious, they informed Prabhupada, who decided to visit. Prabhupada, accompanied by his disciple Vegavan, flew from Bombay to Kuala Lumpur. Since he planned to go next to Sydney and install Radha Krishna deities in the new temple there, he carried the deities with him, the same Radha and Krishna who had presided at the Bombay Pandal. Lord Krishna rode in a wooden box in the plane's luggage apartment, and Srimati Radharani, wrapped in cloth, rested on Vegavan's lap. Within a brief time after Prabhupada's arrival at Kuala Lumpur, he was lecturing before a large audience at his host's home. I am very glad to inform you that we have reached Malaysia very shortly, that on my arrival there was a nice meeting, and then we have come outside the city. Yesterday I was very busy all day. For 2 days, Srila Prabhupada stayed in the home of a wealthy Sindhi merchant of Kuala Lumpur. The house was large and luxurious, with thick carpets and large mirrors. But when Prabhupada learned that his hosts were meat eaters, he refused to eat anything except fruit and milk. Even though his disciples offered to cook for him, his disciples, having traveled throughout Malaysia, considered eating at the homes of meat eaters permissible as long as the devotees could prepare their prasadam in pots not used for cooking meat. But Prabhupada's standard was higher. One room in the house held a large collection of marble deities, about 50 sets of Lakshmi Narayana and Radhakrishna deities in rows. It appeared to be more of a collector's display than worship. However, and Prabhupada was unimpressed. Prabhupada lectured at the Kuala Lumpur town hall and the Lakshmi Narayana temple, mostly to Indians. He explained that people could be united only on the spiritual platform. Look at the United Nations, he said. They are adding more and more flags, and there are only more and more wars. This Krishna consciousness movement will be the real United Nations. Prabhupada had brought with him slides of ISKCON's activities, and he had one of his disciples narrate a slideshow, coaching him on what to say. When a slide appeared of Rath Yatra in London's Trafalgar Square, Prabhupada prompted the devotee, "Now it's no more Lord Nelson. Now it is Lord Jagannath." Hari Bol. When Srila Prabhupada met the couple offering the land, he discovered that the agreement had certain important conditions. The doctor and his wife said that they would give ISKCON a large piece of land near the main highway and that their own construction company would build the temple. Within 2 years, however, if the company hadn't completed the building, the doctor and his wife would reclaim the property. Always eager to consider any serious donation of land, Prabhupada accepted the conditional offer, but he knew that such offers were usually too conditional. Already the doctor and his wife had hinted of Indian Brahmanas running the temple and of ISKCONs having only a side altar. One evening, as Prabhupada talked with the doctor, a gynecologist, the talk turned to birth control. Prabhupada explained its sinfulness, and he gave an example. If someone poisoned the air in the room he and the doctor were sitting in, then they would have to leave the room or die. Similarly, Prabhupada explained, contraception meant to poison the womb, denying a soul its rightful shelter. Like Prabhupada's previous host, the doctor ate meat, although the devotees had been pushing him to give it up. Prabhupada was gentle. Try to stop eating meat, he urged. It was Ekadashi, and Prabhupada decided to fast from all food, again showing extreme reluctance to eat in the home of a meat eater. Sydney, May 9, 1971. The Sydney devotees weren't ready for Prabhupada. An early telegram had informed them he was coming, but a later telegram had said Prabhupada not coming now. A third telegram had come announcing that Bali Mardana, the Australian GBC secretary, was coming. When a fourth telegram had stated only arriving and the date and flight number, the devotees had presumed this referred to Bali Mardana, not to Srila Prabhupada. The devotees had taken a small garland and had gone to meet the plane, and when the doors to the customs area opened and Prabhupada himself walked out, they were flabbergasted. A white attaché case in his left hand, a cane in his right, a light white chadar around his shoulders. Srila Prabhupada entered the airport. Reporters on hand to interview Bali Mardana came eagerly forward, one of them inquiring why Prabhupada had come to Australia. Replying softly, Prabhupada said, he traveled everywhere, just as a salesman travels everywhere. A salesman looks for customers wherever he can find them, and Prabhupada was traveling, searching for anyone intelligent enough to accept his message. There is no difference in coming to Australia, he said. The governments had made a demarcation. This is Australia. But we see everywhere as the land of Sri Krishna. One of the devotees hurried to phone the temple. Prabhupada was coming. Like Prabhupada's original temple at 26 2nd Avenue, New York, the Sydney temple was a one-room storefront on a main business thoroughfare. On the storefront's plate glass window, one of the devotees had painted a picture of Sri Radha and Sri Krishna. Prabhupada entered the room and found it bare, except for a simple wooden altar with 3-inch Jagannath deities and a big cloth-covered Vyasasan. An old rug hid the floor. The blue haze hanging in the air was smoke from the downstairs kitchen, where a devotee was frantically burning cumin seeds to spice Prabhupada's lunch. Prabhupada remained grave as he walked deliberately to the rear door and looked outside. But when he saw garbage and boards stacked high against the building, his gravity turned to sternness. What is all this? He asked. Someone tried an explanation. Unsatisfactory. A devotee brought a glass of milk. Too hot, Prabhupada said, and the devotee took it away. Prabhupada sat on the large Vyasasan. He looked around the room at each face. None of the 15 or so devotees had ever seen him before, and only a handful had been initiated by mail. They were untrained. The carpet was dirty. He said it should be replaced. And why were there no flowers on the altar? He had brought Radha and Krishna deities, but before the devotees could begin their worship, everything must be very clean. The devotees would have to become Brahmanas before they could worship Radha and Krishna. These devotees, Prabhupada saw, knew little of Krishna consciousness. The devotees who had come to Australia originally, Upendra and Balimadan, had opened the center and left, returning but rarely. Thus, an entire temple of inexperienced devotees had been virtually left on its own. Since none of the Sydney devotees could lecture well, the daily classes had consisted of readings from Prabhupada's abridged Bhagavad Gita as it is, the only book they had. Yet, their firm faith in Prabhupada compensated for their lack of training. They accepted him as a pure devotee directly in touch with God, and they accepted his books as truth and Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But many practical things they didn't know, such as how to cook, lecture, and worship the deities. They knew Prabhupada wanted them to chant Hare Krishna publicly and distribute back to Godhead magazines to the people of Sydney, and this they did daily. Despite frequent arrests, they continued with their Sankirtana. Sincerity they had, they only lacked training. Okay. I think we'll pause here. So we'll continue here. Yes, Prabhupada is continuing as Narad Muni does, traveling all over the world as Jet Age Parivrajaka Acharya. So Prabhupada is saying like Narad Muni travels like sannyasis travel, that is their business to, as salesmen, to go and see where there is intelligentsia, people who are willing and eager to take this pure message of Lord Krishna and Bhagavad Gita. And there are millions. Out of the millions, there are at least thousands, if not more, sincere devotees waiting. So, the movement is authentic because coming from the parampara. The message is authentic because it's coming from the Lord Himself, and the devotees are authentic because they are following in the parampara. So, when everything is authentic, then there will be genuine seekers who will take this authentic message. Yeah, earlier, like I think he's in Malaysia now, but Malaysia, Indonesia, Indonesian Airlines is also called Garuda Airlines. So that means, this was like the whole Bharatvarsha, as it was called before. Everything was Vedic civilization, many, even from millions of years ago. But modern historians only talk about few thousands of years. But yeah, we can see practically how there are millions of Indians in Malaysia, Indonesia, and of course now even in Australia, all over the world. And yeah, even these new devotees are kind of novice, inexperienced, but like I said, they have sincerity, and that is what is the important currency to have. When you have sincerity and true surrender to your guru, then all knowledge that we are lacking will be bestowed by the mercy of the Guru Parampara. So that is the qualification need to have, that sincerity of desire to serve. And like here Prabhupada is saying, yeah, there are millions of Malaysians and he's traveling like North American GBC. I was reading an article a few days ago. North American Regional Committee also does have a bold vision. They have a vision for like 2035, which is just 10 years from now, to have at least 3% of the population, Krishna conscious, which is a big, bold goal. But again, this is in the same mood as what Srila Prabhupada had, big, bold goals to travel all over the world and preach Krishna consciousness. So for North America, their goal is 3%, which is what, like approximately 350 million is the population here. So that makes it about 10 to 11 million. So about 10 million people being Krishna conscious in another 10 years. So it's a big, bold goal, but it's something that is achievable if we work together in unity and cooperate. It will require some tactical changes at the center level, and it will require some bold strategic plans to grow at the larger continental level. But it is possible by the mercy of the gurus if we are sincere. So we'll see how that goes. Okay. But yeah, as we saw, Prabhupada concluded from India, and in India he was managing everything. Of course, like I said, it's a familiar territory for Prabhupada. He knew how things operated in India. As we will see later, there will be challenges because a lot of the American disciples and European disciples, they have no clue of how to operate in India, right? Because Indian government, Indian bureaucracy, everything is very different from what happens in other places in the world. So there will be challenges, but that's why Prabhupada was leading from the front in India, because he knew how things operated. Okay, anything else? Anybody would like to share? Anything you liked from today's reading? No? Nothing? Okay. All right, then we'll conclude. We'll see you all later today, this evening, at the center for our Saturday program. We have a special guest today, His Grace Antadvip Prabhu, a very young brahmachari disciple of His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj. We'll be talking about love of God. Since, like here, we had Vegavan, who was carrying Srimati Radharani in his lap, right? Prabhupada was carrying Radha Krishna deities to Australia. And Vegavan, who actually we just read about him yesterday, he was initiated, or he was actually married. He was, he was Australian disciple with the Swedish Mataji, and they got married in Bombay. And now he's carrying Srimati Radharani, and Ramata Radharani is the personification of love of God. Right? She is the Prema Prayojan. So we all pray to her that we may develop your love for Krishna. So she is coming next week as part of Shri Radha Ashtami. So today we will hear from His Grace Antadvip Prabhu about love of God, the missing piece in today's modern life, the missing piece of the puzzle. Everybody is searching after some love, some flickering love, but nobody is getting permanent love in this world. And that can only be had when we take shelter of Shri Shri Radha and Krishna. So we will hear from him, and we look forward to seeing all of you. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much for your association on a Saturday morning. वाञ्छकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। अनंतकोटि वैष्णववृंद की जय। जगद्गुरु श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। श्रील प्रभुपाद लीलामृत की जय। निताई गौर। हरि हरि बोल।
Madhanath Prabhu ki jai. Thank you,
Hare
Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Have a great
Hare
day.
Krishna.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Krishna।